It's an absolutely glorious September's day. Hey, here we go. And what better day to enjoy the fantastic King Alfred Way. Bike shop are going to absolutely love me. So join me on this journey as I try and take on the King Alfred Way in not quite a day. So here I am at the start of the King Alfred Way on this glorious September's morning. Not quite what I had in mind when I signed up to this, but not going to mess around. Got about 120 miles to ride today, which I'll go into a little bit more detail in a minute. So being a city, it's got all the amenities you could want and need at the start or finish of a bike ride. But like any of these cities, it's also a little bit busy. There's traffic, there's red lights, so it can take a little bit longer to get through. Time's about 10 to 12, so I'm starting this ride way later than I really wanted to. So on this little road climb out of Winchester. In a minute we'll turn off down an ancient byway, and then we're pretty much in the countryside, little lanes, little byways, all the way to Old Sarum, just north of Salisbury. King Alfred Way is about 220-mile circular route put together by Cycling UK. Me and my wife rode it in 2021 on a lovely 4-day trip after we'd all been released from lockdown to get a little bit of adventure back in our lives. Some people had asked on my video about the Southdown Way, how it compared to the King Alfred Way, and there is a bit of Southdown Way on this route towards the end. I guess in terms of distance it's about an extra 120 miles. For the amount of climbing, it's probably only about another 1,000 meters, and there are lots more stretches of tarmac and easy rolling roads. And if you're wondering, does it flood? Well, this is probably your answer. This is only a couple of miles in from Winchester, and as you can see, we're basically in a river. Disappointingly, the weather front is pretty much sitting on and across the King Alfred Way, so if you're north of the King Alfred Way, there is glorious sunshine. I've seen temperatures on the weather of 25, 26 degrees, but here it's showing the potential to rain all day. It is a proper nice route to do on a gravel bike, but when it's wet, it's slippery, it's probably quite muddy and boggy in places. So I'm sticking to my hardtail mountain bike, and I'm running my winter mud guards already, which is a bit depressing considering it's early September. And we're just into the countryside now, to the west of Winchester. Those lovely rolling fields. So the ride down, we'll ride up this literal stream. Coming through Horton, and it stretches like this on the tarmac that make it really fast if you're on a gravel bike, particularly if it's dry. Pretty easy to bail on the ride in today's conditions, and maybe I would have, except I've been reading Jenny Graham's book Coffee First Then the World about her record-breaking round the world bike trip, so surely I can cope with a day or two's worth of rain. Today I'm riding to Reading, where I'm staying at a lovely Premier Inn. You know, my favourite place to stay because it's pretty easy to wheel your bike straight in, no one asks any questions. That accommodation is in Reading. It is roughly 120 miles from Winchester. I didn't start till midday, so I'm going to have to be on the bike a fair amount today, treating it a little bit like an ultra, but by doing it that way I should be able to maximise the daylight and have only a few hours in darkness. Now this is a slippery, slidey, chalky hill. It's about the 15-mile mark. So yeah, this is a climb about 15 miles in, which in the dry is lovely, but in these wet conditions that chalk is very slippy, and even hiker biking was pretty difficult. So definitely a lot nicer and probably quicker in the dry. Here's a lovely bit of trail, another little bit of hiker bike. This is like moss covered chalk, so even more slippy. And we're out of that chalk onto some tarmac again. I think the trick was not to ride on anything that was white or green, try and stay on the dirty bits. This is a rather interesting descent, pretty much pure chalk. And of course, no route in Britain would be complete without some rutted field edge gravel. Well, this is a bit different. It's like riding through a jungle, a bit different to stinging nettles and brambles. But again, the surface below is pretty chalky, and this is like old Malthouse Road. You go down here, and if I remember, it was pretty treacherous in the dry, so let's see how it is in the wet. Ah, stingers. Too many apples. What? Yeah, that was a bit of a slip and slide, particularly at the top. Just north of Salisbury. So if you need any supplies, you can easily pop off the route, head down into Salisbury and get what you need. I, however, am carrying on riding because my next stop is Amesbury and a petrol station, which is quite important for everyone in terms of water. Oh, this is nice. Properly in Wiltshire now, so heading over towards Amesbury. And typically, as we get to the exposed bits after being in the woods for a couple of hours, it started hammering it down again. Amesbury, home of Stonehenge. Here's a garage in Amesbury, a good old spa with a Costa. So yeah, that was an important stop because we've now got about 30 miles to Avebury. So you need to get your water there because there isn't a great deal when you go across Salisbury Plain, and if you're there on a nice warm hot day it's very exposed. However, because I was set off late, I'm not 100% sure if there'll be anything in Avebury open. So there's a water tap on the Ridgeway in about 50 miles. So at the garage I bought a sandwich, a pasty, packet of crisps, 2 packets of Haribo, Snickers Duo, 2 litres of water. So with the stuff I've already got, that would be enough to see me to Reading. Just that water, I'll have to get on the Ridgeway. Oh my goodness. That was a downpour, and then a coach drove past me and absolutely soaked me. Oh my goodness. I'm not sure I've been this wet in a pretty long time on the bike. Today it's called the King Alfred Waterway. Oh dear, it is rather damp. Gorgeous gravel waterways. That last bit was an absolute mud fest, I think, or I hope, with a bit of a stretch of really nice gravel coming up. Ooh, this is a nice little bit. Oh no. Of course, it couldn't be. Got to go through this field edge gravel instead. Oh, that's a bit better than the field edge gravel. If I remember, this is quite a long drag, a long climb, but it's nice to be on some smooth tarmac rather than those bumpy field edges. Oh, and here's those big, wide Salisbury Plain gravel roads, great for cruising along on. Cheeky little portaloo, a rather delightful looking cloud in the distance. Well, that's that lovely bit of gravel over with, back on the field edge, and this is a descent off of Salisbury Plain, and I think it's quite dodge, so no filming until I get down the bottom. Oh, the descent was a little bit skittish, like one of those chalk gullies, but now I'm in this peanut butter mud bog thing, kind of jammed underneath my mudguard, which is great. Flipping heck, look at all that. That's 64 miles done. My actual stop is actually 128. I kind of overlooked the bit I did before to get to the King Alfred Way. So bonus 8 miles. So far it's taken me 5 hours 20 moving. You won't be able to see it on here because I can barely see it with my own eyes, but in the distance on those hills is the old white horse. So here comes that big climb after Allington. See the profile on the Garmin, and when we get over, drop down, I think we're pretty much in Avebury. Whoa, this is a big steep climb. Cows having their dinner. Very misty. Stop for a moment, taking that view. Yeah, I'm just heading into Avebury now. It's about 10 to 6, so I'm not sure if those little shops will be open. Through Avebury, just starting the climb out of Avebury. As you can see, it's a little bit chalky, it's a bit slippery. Heading into the mist on the Ridgeway. It's pretty hard going up here. It's very slippery, rutted, kind of little single track trail to follow. This is much nicer for a minute, despite that fog. No views, but it's not rutted for a moment. Oh, I'm pretty sure there is a stunning view down there, just not today. Just coming through Badbury, an ancient fort enclosed by embankments, but can't really see them through the mist. And I think if the mist wasn't here, you get a very good view down to Swindon. More great views on the Marlborough Downs. Oh, if I remember from before, this is a gorgeous run down just to the north of Marlborough, but as you can see today, not really got that loveliness about it. Crossing over the Chisholm and Marlborough or railway line, I'm going up here. But if you go right and you go down there, that takes you down into Marlborough where there's Premier Inn and all sorts of other stuff. And when I did the ride with my wife a few years ago, that's where we stayed on our first night. But not for me. My next stop is some water tap, which is probably 5 or 6 miles away. Got to keep an eye out for it. As you can see, I'm back up on the top of the Ridgeway. Hopefully got a few miles of nice rolling terrain. Still taking in those wonderful evening views. The M4, we're motoring down here. Nice bit of tarmac to get some speed up. Hey, here we go. Into the night. So we're getting some water at this tap. Later in the video I'll share a little resource that helps you find these taps, places to get food and everything else you might need. 35 miles till I get to Reading. Oh, and it's now chucking it down again. Oh man, this is tough. Absolutely soaked again. Just hit 100 miles. 100 miles. That's about 28 left till we get to Reading. I'm hoping this is the last climb on the Ridgeway before we drop down to Goring. Happen to walk because it's very slippy, it's a bit like ice. Well, that's the last little bit of the Ridgeway now, which is on road down into Goring. Not gonna lie, feeling slightly battered now. Goring station. There was a Tesco Express a minute ago. Nice place to resupply if needed. Just about to go down and up Hartley Steps. If you know, you know. It's about 5 miles to the Premier, and I can't blooming wait. Into Reading now. Not the nicest part of the whole route. So yeah, there is an alternative route that someone's made to go round Reading, because it doesn't really feel like the safest place along here at 11 o'clock at night. And during the day, when I've been here in the daytime, it's just really busy. And there we are, in the sanctuary until tomorrow morning. Good night. Right then, I'm awake after not the best night's sleep, just examining the damage. The bike is pretty filthy. Gonna sort out the chain, get that re-lubed, and then get underway for day 2. We're underway on the escape from Reading. I've got about 94 miles to get to the end. My first point to address is some bacon, and I'm going to call into a McDonald's just off the route in a couple of miles time, have a bacon roll. So that'll set me up nicely. The cycle path is shut, so I'm going to have to clamber up here. I think just ride straight down the main road. McDonald's done, back on the road again. Back over the M4. There are lots of different ways to do the King Alfred way. Some people do it in chunks over a longer time period. Some people ride it over 4, 5, maybe even more days to really have a look at all the history and historic sites that you can find on the route. On the other end of the spectrum, there's the people that go for the fastest known time, rip it out in one day. I think the men's record's just over 15 hours and the women's record's about 20. But I've settled for the 2-day affair. Pretty stiff challenge, but also some rest. And probably not a lot of history taken in. This one's more of a challenge. So I'm 10 miles in, well out of Reading now. Just been through Risley. I think the next major place might be Fleet, and then we head down to Farnham, where somewhere around there's a pretty big climb. After that we go to Hindhead, another climb, Devil's Punchbowl, and when you're up and over that you make your way down to the South Down Way for some more up and downs. Row, row, row your boat gently down King Alfred Stream. One benefit of all that rain is these sandy tracks are now rather firm. Never really too difficult on a mountain bike, but I expect those gravel bikes are thankful for it today. Just going under the M3, making our way south now. Come through Church Crookham, and I think in a minute there's a rather steep, nasty climb. Probably going to be chalky, probably going to be slippery. Here we go. Oh, that was steep, but it was a bit gravelly. like that. So I rode all the way up in my easy gear. At the bottom there's a pub called the Windmill. Probably wouldn't suggest having lunch there, because I think you see it again at the top. So it might not be raining as much as yesterday, but it's pretty wet underfoot still. These big puddles. You never quite know whether it's going to be an inch deep or a foot deep. Nice, very nice. Now in Farnham, just went through the high street. Good place to get more food and drink if you need it. Farnham Premier Inn. I think Alfred built all these, so people can do his roof. Oh, I forgot about this road just south of Farnham. It's really steep roads, up, down, up, down, up, down. That puddle was one of those foot deep ones. Oh dear. On this bit, you sometimes have the option to go through the river. But as you can see, it's pretty high today, so I think you'll probably get washed away. Bike is now running on pretty much pure mud. Bike shop are going to absolutely love me. Yeah, and this is the Freesham, as they say it, Freesham Ranges. Proper hard going when it's really dry. Not too bad. Let's have that rain on it. It's been a quite fun little path. Sandy, rooty, some puddles to avoid. I don't think I've asked this before, but if you are enjoying my race videos, my adventure videos and my top tip videos, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Got this big wall of sand to conquer. A little bit of hike a bike at the top. Lost traction on some of those roots coming up. Just giving my chain a quick wash in a puddle, and a guy comes up to me with a can of WD-40, so gave it a quick spray. Might make a little difference to the crunchiness. More sand across Thursley. I think we're approaching the Devil's Punchbowl climb. As you can see, it's a fairly chunky one. It's got quite a loose rocky surface. Cheeky bit of lemon drizzle and a double espresso. Hopefully see me up this climb. Rocky, loose and worn. Perfect gravel. So it's still going up, but this is a little bit nicer than that rocky path. This is now the old A3 going up and over Devil's Punchbowl. The road now goes through the Hindhead Tunnel, so this has been made into a walking and cycling path, which is really nice. Always worth taking in a view in the Punchbowl at the top before we gas it back down again towards Liss. On the way back down, I'm going to call into one of my favourite garages, get some more water and a couple of snacks. Now working my way towards South Downs, about 18 miles away. Mix of these commons, I guess, little back roads and probably a lot of bogs. Oh, this is a slow bit. Very sloppy little woodland trails. Back over the A3 again. Now onto the Shipwright's Way, which I think takes us to Liss. Just got a little waft to myself. I absolutely reek. Disused railway line trail, heading towards Liss. I think it's about a mile and a half away. Pretty nice and smooth and flat. Try not to use those legs too much, saving it for the South Down Way, because there's a few hills to come on there. Coming through Liss, another place to restock your snackage. Oh, so much taking it easy towards the Downs. This is a steep old hill coming up and out of Liss. Brief trip into West Sussex. Oh, there's loads of these annoying bits of fallen tree everywhere. In this wood, it means you have to carry your bike over. Just got a glimpse of the South Downs. It says 2 miles till South Harting, and I think that's where we climb up. If there's a trail you'd like to see a video of, or you think that's one I should ride, or a race I should ride, I'm looking for ideas for what to do next year, particularly on the ultra racing front, please comment below. Onto this fairly steep road climb up onto the South Downs. Well, we'll join the South Down Way all the way back more or less to Winchester. Here we are then, South Down Way. And if your legs weren't feeling it already after what's probably 190 miles, the South Downs Way will be sure to finish them off with a number of big climbs. If you want a detailed video about the South Down Way, there's actually one on my channel, so check that out if you want some inspiration for another ride to do. Just coming up and around the back of Queen Elizabeth Country Park, and if you're feeling a bit feisty, as you saw there, there's some mountain bike trails that take you down to the visitor centre rather than the South Down Way, but I am not feeling feisty, that's for sure. Queen Elizabeth Country Park Visitor Centre, it's got a cafe, toilets and a water tap where you can resupply your water, but I've got enough and I'm about to face Butser Hill, and there it is, the beast that is Butser Hill. Oh, I made it a chunk of the way up, but it's now got very steep, so I'm going to walk, because I'm probably not actually going much faster than walking pace anyway. And just when you think you might be there, over that steep bit, phase 2 reveals itself. But at least phase 2 is just about rideable. That is always a tough climb, but we've got some views, unlike yesterday. The good thing about this end of the South Down Way is you get to ride along the ridge in quite a few places, rather than down at the Eastbourne end, we essentially just go up and down. So you do get a little bit of respite, which is always helpful for those probably very tired legs at this point. On the left is the Sustainability Centre, where you can get water, food, and there's camping as well. So just after the Sustainability Centre, this is a bit of a hideous steep descent. It's in like a chalk gully of bits of flint and all sorts of stuff. It's probably going to be slippy today, so I'm going to take my time, try and get down it in one piece. Well, I made it down, but my foot was down in quite a few places. It's very, very slippy and slidey. Before I drop down into Meon Springs, that resource I mentioned earlier on is a Google map put together by Rough Ride Guides, and they've plotted all around the route where you can find cafes, restaurants, bike shops, places to stay. It's a really handy resource to plan your time on the King Alfred Way. I used it last night to find that water tap on the Ridgeway. So straight up there now. It's really slippy, this South Down Way at the moment, where it's been so wet. It's not exactly very fun riding. So that climb was a mix of hike, bike and riding. It was literally like ice. And this is a steep, slippery descent down Old Winchester Hill. Again, not fantastic in these conditions. This is a nice bit of the Old Winchester Hill. It's been gravelled. Not got to worry too much about the slip and slide for a minute. On the East Meon Trail, disused railway line, probably about a mile or 2 miles of pretty easy going. That takes us down to Exton, where there then is a very big, very long tarmac climb up to Beacon Hill. There's the start of the tarmac climb. Oh, chugging along. And just as it starts to ease a bit, you turn right off the road into a chalky climb. Oh, already slipped off. Oh, and that's the top of Beacon Hill. I think that's the last big climb. There are quite a few more rolly bits on the way to Winchester, but you can't be too far away now. Garmin reckons it's about 13-14 miles to the end. Well, I'm done. Just crossing the A31, and I'd stand at the side of the road there for only about a minute, and my legs were like, oh, is that it? We're done now. It's a bit difficult getting them going again. They've still got about 9 miles to go. On to the drag, up to Cheesefoot Head. 7 miles to go. 7 miles and I'm done. Down there, the remnants of the Boomtown Festival that took place a few weeks ago. You'll be pleased to know this is the last gate on the South Down Way. So we come up to where we depart the South Down Way, which goes to the right there, goes down to Winchester. We take this path, we go right across this field and into the back end of Winchester via St Catherine's Hill. Well, that South Down Way section was pretty tough today. Physically, obviously of the hills, but more so mentally, because it takes so much concentration in those conditions where it's so slippery. One, to obviously avoid falling off, but two, to make sure you don't pick a wrong line and slash the sidewall of your tyre or something like that. Well, it's pretty draining, but we've only got about 4 miles to go to the end. A few more little trails into Winchester and then we'll be done. What an adventure this has been, or should I say an epic ride with that weather and today's slip and slop. So just under 4 miles to go, but I'm going to step into my time machine. It's actually yesterday and I'm about 4 miles from Winchester, 4 miles to the east of Winchester that is, because someone let me park for free so I don't have to pay for any parking. I'm technically not starting in Winchester. The bridleway running towards St Catherine's Hill, not as bad as I thought it would be. Not hideously overgrown like some of the trails around here. Down there, it's a rather gloomy Winchester. This is the run down and around St Catherine's Hill that's on the right. Well, on a summer's day, this is lovely down here, very fast. And if you're lucky, this could be the final gate of the trip. Onto this disused railway line, where there's a lovely cafe, cycling cafe. Be a nice point to have a drink and some food before you roll in to the final bit of Winchester city centre. Coming into Winchester city centre now. There's King Alfred, start and finish of the King Alfred Way. I'm back home and dry again. I'm going to put some stats up on the screen so you can see how far I went and how long it took. But hopefully that's inspired you to give the King Alfred Way a go, perhaps when it's dry as opposed to when it's chucking it down. As ever, if you've got any questions, please feel free to leave them below and I'll do my best to answer them. So thank you for watching and I'll see you for the next adventure.